This is Eat, Sleep, Invest, the marketing podcast for real estate investors to get more deals. Hey, welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Eat, Sleep, and Invest. I'm your host, Brian Driscoll, and I'm here with Stasi Longo. What's going on, Stasi?
Hey, what's happening?
All right, so everyone listen, I'm excited today. So Stasi's helped me over the last year lose over 50 pounds. So I wanted to pull her on here because I know a lot of people are trying to get in shape, things like that. So Stasi's coming on to answer some questions that try to help everybody out. So Stacey, why don't you give everybody a little bit of background on you?
Okay, so I've been a personal trainer since 1980. I have basically trained people of all ages, all levels of ability, from beginners to professional athletes over this past 4 decades. And I've been an athlete my whole life. I became a natural pro bodybuilder, won many titles, and I promote bodybuilding competitions, drug-free bodybuilding competitions. I coach and train a lot of athletes as well as beginners. So basically, I just help people, despite whatever their goals are, to learn how to eat properly to reach their goal, how to train properly, how to all the other things that we're going to talk about that go into reaching their goal. That's what I do every day in my life.
Cool. So you say you won some competitions. You're talking like you won Miss Universe competition, right?
Well, I did. Yes, I was very blessed to win that back in 1998. I only competed as a drug-free natural bodybuilder, and I did win Miss Universe. So how about that?
Yeah, so that's a pretty big deal. It's not like you just won the competition down the street.
Right. That was difficult to do, but, thank you, Lord, I did it.
Yeah, so in a way I found you is Ryan Fisher. Some of you guys listening might know him too because he has a title agency. Ryan lost, I think he was like, 290, and he went down to 190 and competed?
Right, that's right.
Yeah, he showed a post on Facebook, and I'm like, geez, man, how did he do that? And I reached out to him. I'm like, he's like, yeah, I worked with Stasi, so that's how we met.
Exactly, yes.
Yes.
So it's important for us to make this stipulation, though, because losing weight is completely different than changing your body composition. So losing weight is a great thing to do. We all know that. But we want to look good in a bathing suit when we're finished, right?
Sure.
We want to have enough muscle there and shape so that, when you just lose weight for the scale, you look great in clothes. But if you get naked or get in a bathing suit, not so much, because you've dieted all your muscle away. So I do the opposite for people. I specialize in helping them to change their composition, which means gain muscle, lose body fat, and you end up with a beautiful hard body in the end, which, do you have your pictures to show your before and afters?
Yeah, I'll have them edited in there or something.
Okay.
Yeah, which that brings up a good point too, because so I lost 57 pounds on the scale. But
right.
with your numbers,
awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. But with your numbers, I think it was 72 pounds of fat loss and like 23 pounds of muscle gain. So
exactly.
So yeah, everyone listening too, that makes a difference. Like if you've ever seen anybody that goes on a hardcore cut something out diet, and they look kind of like sickly.
Right.
You're saying this is different because you're putting muscle on and replacing the fat versus just stripping your whole body.
Right. You're changing composition. So I have some props here. Your favorite, Brian.
This is my favorite.
This is an example of what a pound of fat looks like. This is an example of what a pound of muscle looks like. Now, I know this is through the internet, but these two weigh the exact same, but they're very different in size. This is much more compact, and this is kind of like bubbling out all over the place. This is smooth, compact. This is bigger and bubbling over. Now, how this works in our body is we have our bones or our skeleton first, then we have a layer of muscle cells, then a layer of fat cells, then the skin. So when someone just cuts calories and maybe starts, some exercise and they want to lose weight for the scale, what happens is if they're not focusing on body composition, meaning working on the muscle at the same time, they can catabolize this. They can actually lose their muscle while they're losing fat, and the end result is just not very attractive. Again, they look great in clothes, but not so great in a bathing suit. And when we work on both of these together, gaining muscle the right way, losing body fat the right way, you end up with a beautiful transformed physique. And, you know, you see these body transformations all over social media. I even get accused of photoshopping. Now, you know my technical skills are pretty bad. I wouldn't know how to Photoshop one of those if you paid me. These transformations are miraculous, but they're very doable. You just need to have the right tools and the right instruction for your specific body. In other words, your height, your weight, your body fat percentage. It's all very specific to the individual. You just can't give out a cookie cutter plan to everybody.
Right. Now, let's talk about that a little bit. So we're talking about changing composition. So how do you do that? Like, I know how you did it with me. So explain to everybody how that works with the diet, exercise, like what's involved.
Okay. So to truly make a transformation the ultimate way, like if you want to go all in and really do it right, it's exactly what I did with you. It takes three things. It takes weight training to strengthen, tone, firm the muscle. Weight training is the only thing that is going to change the shape of your body. It's the only thing. Okay. So you need to get the weight training in place. That's underneath the fat. Then you need to get cardiovascular exercise, which now focuses more on burning the body fat, which is on top of the muscle. Then you need the third thing, which is a diet focused on both muscle and fat. In other words, not just a diet where you cut calories and you don't worry about what you're eating, So a body composition diet focuses on a little bit more higher protein because muscle is made of protein and water. So you need to increase your lean protein to help strengthen, build, make the hard body, right? Make the muscle. And then you need to bring down your carbohydrates and your fats to burn this off. So that basically what I tell people is it's really simple. When someone signs up with me and they want to transform their body, all I'm really doing is putting them to bed in a deficit over the next, let's say, 6 months. We'll start with 6 months. I want to set a person up so that they're going to burn more through their cardio than they put in their mouth in calories, so that when they go to bed, their body's turning on stored fat for fuel, basically. Now, while we're doing that, I have to make sure they have enough protein so that their body doesn't turn on its hard-earned muscle for fuel. So you provide enough protein so that you don't catabolize, your body doesn't eat its own muscle to get what it needs, because we want to gain this, right?
Right.
So really, it takes those three things. And, I've just been doing this for so long. I know I do a fitness evaluation on everybody, as you know, so that I know their height, their weight, their body fat percentage, how much muscle and fat they have. Talk at length with them about their past so I get to know their genetics. And then I prescribe from there.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that fitness evaluation, I recommend everybody does that. And you'll do that virtual too, right?
Well, that's a little bit hard to do virtual because I use, here's my skin calipers. Now, what you really need to do is take your body fat. Now, in person, I can do this. I pinch certain areas, it doesn't hurt. But there's a method of how you can measure fat on certain sites of the body, and then there's a calculation that helps you to figure out what their percentage is. If you don't have, skin calipers, or you don't want to hire a trainer to do that, you can go buy a good scale at Bed Bath & Beyond that tells you those types of things. So you have that as one of your, baseline numbers going into this, because we don't want to go by the scale only. The scale's not telling us what's really happening. You can have two women, and I did this once at a seminar, and it was like people were blown away. I took two women who were the same height, the same exact weight on the scale. One was totally buff and in shape, hard body, beautiful. The other one was very over fat and out of shape, but they were the same height and the same weight. The difference was their body composition. The one that was in shape, the majority of her composition or her scale weight was muscle, and it was the opposite for the other. So you really don't want to go by just your scale weight. You need some method of measuring your body fat percentage. And, these scales, they're not really 100% accurate, but they can help guide you if you keep the same method, the same way, as you're in your journey.
Right.
And so, and a lot of them are very elaborate, but when I do this virtually, if I train someone online, what they do is they'll get one of these scales, not very expensive, but the scale will actually give a report, and then they email that to me, and then I know what I'm dealing with.
Okay, cool. And then, so when I came to you, I had a whole bunch of fat, and you told me, right?
Oh, everybody who comes to me has a lot of fat.
Right, yeah. So
advanced athletes.
And the thing that made sense to me too is, which you did a couple things, but one of the things that made sense to me, just because of how I roll, is whenever you broke it down into macros, you're like, okay, here's what you need to do. You need to have 200 grams of protein, 150 grams of carbs, 50 grams of fat. Like, those were my numbers. Right. And you told me about the app Lose It, like loseit.com. And that made sense to me because I always thought that I was eating, well, not always, but I thought sometimes I was eating healthy when I wasn't.
Oh, everybody does. And here's the thing. Healthy doesn't mean lean. You can eat really healthy and get really fat. It's a numeric game. So not only do you need to know, first of all, I think we should say what macros are, because a lot of people don't know what they are. It is, a widely used buzzword in dieting now, but macro stands for macronutrient. Basically, think of it like this. Everything we eat is one of these three. It's either a protein, it's either a fat, or a carbohydrate, or a combination of two or three of those. Those macros totally relate to this. As I mentioned before, if you control your protein, you're going to gain muscle. If you control your fat and carbs, you're going to, the correct direction, you're going to lose body fat. Macros translate over into calories, but I find that I like to teach beginners macros so that they understand how, what you eat and how it affects these two things. Most people who are used to calorie dieting don't know that, right? They just want to lower their calories and go to the scale. But when I teach it practically, in a practical manner of how they relate to muscle and fat, then a light bulb goes on. Then they realize, oh, that's what I've been doing wrong. I thought I was eating really healthy, but I keep gaining. Well, you can, as I said, you can eat really healthy, but if you're not burning more than you're putting in, you're storing it as fat.
Yeah, and that's what made a bunch of sense to me too, because it's like I can eat 4 ice cream cones, or I can eat 4 chicken breasts. They might be the same calories, but the chicken breast is all protein, and the other's all carbs and whatever.
Right.
So,
and fat.
Yeah, and fat, and that's what clicked in my head. Is okay. Now I know I have a number of what I need to eat too. And it forced me, it's like you only have 50 grams of fat in a day. Even peanuts have fat in it. Peanut butter, stuff like that you don't think.
Oh my gosh, right. So all these healthy foods that we've always heard are great to eat, I'm not telling you not to eat them. I'm just telling you now we need to measure and count them. Because yes, I want you to eat healthy, but if you're trying to lose body fat, you need to measure and keep those high fat, high carb, healthy foods just enough to give you the health, the life, the energy that you need every day, but just enough to go to bed and let your body turn on stored fat for fuel. If you keep feeding your body, people ask me all the time, am I going to be hungry on this? Well, of course you are, because if you keep eating, if you keep fueling your hunger, you're going to keep staying fat, right? But there are some, as you know, some lights at the end of the tunnels. The one good thing about eating more protein is you get to eat a lot of it. So it's not like I'm taking food. I am taking food away, but I'm taking excess and the wrong food away. You still get to eat. Most people say after a week, I'm eating more food than I was eating before. They're just replacing the bad food with the good food. And when you eat more protein, it's fueling that muscle that we're trying to build when you're getting your butt kicked in here.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah, and you do give a good butt kicking. So let's talk about that for a minute, though. So, because I even thought it's like, okay, I gotta change my diet, lose weight, things like that. I'm gonna be hungry. But you had me eating like every 3 hours. It's like I'm eating like 6 or 7 times a day.
Yes. Well, when you eat the right things and you're eating for lean muscle, you aren't eating a lot of carbs and fat, and you're going to get hungry sooner. And actually, that's the way the body was made to be fed. We were actually made to fuel and go use it. Fuel a little bit more, go use it. That is the way it is, but not in America. In America, we're all so busy. We starve and then we pig out. And then our bodies use this much of that pig out and store the rest as fat. So when you start to eat the right macronutrients tailored to your body, and it's lean, so you're going to get hungry more often, that actually stimulates your metabolism. It all works together. It's a beautiful thing.
Right. Now you have, well, you can actually answer this. What are the types of people? Like you have some type of people come to you, they want to lose weight. Other types of people want to gain weight, like they want to gain muscle.
Yep.
Are those the two types, or are there other types of people too?
Oh, there's all types of people.
Like I'm saying the tops. Like what are most people dealing with?
Most people are very overfat and losing muscle because they've dieted wrong for so many years. It's why I love what I do, because I like to help people stop the madness. They've been on every diet you've ever heard of, and then they come to me and I explain why that didn't work, and then, teach them the right way, and then they can actually get a hard body while they do it and look beautiful in the end, and then maintain it. It can be a lifestyle. This needs to be a lifestyle. And that's what I know you're entering into, because Brian totally transformed. I can't wait till he shows the pictures. But, it's all possible to transform your body. It's amazing. The second half of that is learning to maintain it. It must become your new lifestyle.
Right.
And, that's part of what I have to teach too.
Yeah, and here's what I saw too. So the way you did it with me is, it's like dip your toe in the pool and you start. So it's not like you're diving in. So you started me with 15 minutes a day cardio and working out twice a week and eating, but it wasn't like super strict.
Right.
And once I got the hang of that,
right,
then you kept going a little bit more gradual. So people looking to start too. It's not like you got to dive in and cut everything.
100% no. And that's what, believe it or not, a lot of people want to do that. That's like a problem. That's like a mentality. We all have these extreme mentalities. And again, I've been doing this a long time, and people who do that crash and burn, And so I try to start everyone out just with basics. Let's get you in shape to get you in shape. Let's start with a little bit, get that on, going, get you on board with that. And then the next step, it has to be little by little and strategic. And also with exercise, they're going to get hurt if they go too extreme. And A lot of people want to be extreme, and I just highly discourage it because they end up getting hurt if they don't listen to me.
Yeah, and it's like a marathon. It's an ongoing thing.
Oh yeah, I always say that it's a marathon. It's not a 50-yard dash.
Right.
You know.
And it sucks too. I mean, it's hard. You know.
Oh, it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's so hard, and it does take a focus. You know. You have to make it a priority. It's not easy. We live in America. Everything's the opposite of what it really takes to be healthy and be in good shape, you know? So I think that's why people need someone to help them to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, eating healthy is really hard too, because I noticed that it's like if you start looking at the numbers, well, first, let's even talk about, so protein, fat, carbs, right? It's just mathematical. 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. 1 gram of carbs, 4 calories. 1 gram of fat is 9 calories, right?
Very good, Brian.
Oh, yeah.
That's so true.
So I'm walking around the grocery store, and it's like 95% of the stuff in there, it does not fall into the numbers I was doing.
Correct. Right. I always tell people after I teach them the first day, you're going to be in the grocery store for a few hours the first time you go shopping after you leave me, because, you know, you just have to start reading labels. And even people that have been on all these other diets, they're like, oh, I'm going to really have to get used to this. I'm so used to just looking at the calories. Now they have to look at 3 things, but once you get it, it sets you so free. And the other thing is, you know, I learned this decades ago before there were computers or apps or anything like that. And that was really, really hard because, you know, we had to go to the store and buy a book of food counts. I used to make all my clients leave me and go right to the bookstore. And today it's simple because all you do is you have your phone, you Google, what are the macros in an apple? You could just Google that, right? It's right at your fingertips. Then you have all these diet apps. There's hundreds, probably thousands of them. So it makes it really easy to do. It's not even hard anymore. Now we have protein bars, protein powder, protein cookies, protein shakes, protein candy, you know, lots of helpers.
You know what? Let's talk about that too. So some of the foods I learned in the beginning are tricking you. Like protein bars, for example, or protein shakes, some of them.
Yeah.
It's like you're eating a candy bar, but they're saying there's 20 grams of protein in it.
Yeah.
And it totally screws up your numbers because you're like, oh, I'm eating this to be healthy, and it's got all this sugar or carbs.
Right. So within protein bars, you have to really find out the best ones that work for you. You know, everybody likes the ones that have higher carbs and higher fat. Oh, that's my favorite bar. I get that all, you know, I hear that all the time. Well, of course it's your favorite bar because it's way too many calories. It's way too many grams of fat and carbs, but it has 20 grams of protein in it. So then you have to be educated on, okay, well, what are the right protein bars, the legit ones that, you know, will really help me to get lean.
Yeah. Now,
my muscle without my fat, you know.
Yeah. Now you probably can't answer this, but I'm going to ask you anyways. What percentage of the whole process is cardio responsible for versus weights? Like, what's the most important part? Which you're probably going to say everything, but.
Oh, geez. All 3 are important. They really are. But it does depend on someone's genetics. It really does. Because I think we all know that person who eats everything in sight and they're not really too over fat.
Yeah.
You know, with those people, I really don't have to give a whole lot of cardio to. Usually, if I get them on a weight training program and clean up their diet, they're good. But see, genetics plays such a part with that. So it really depends on the person. There are other people that, you know, if they don't do their cardio, they're just not going to get there. They have, you know, in the muscle magazines, they say hard gainers, you know, guys that have trouble gaining muscle. Well, I call them hard losers their genetics just aren't predisposed to losing body fat easily. So that it gets very strategic, and they have to do cardio. So it depends on the person, but basically all three components are necessary. I always say this, I named the three, but if somebody just starts lifting weights, period, they're going to get some very nice results. They're going to start to change the shape of their body. If somebody just starts to do cardio, they're going to get some good results. They're going to start to lean up and lose some body fat. If somebody just does a diet, same thing. But when you put all three of those things together, that's where you get the total transformation that looks like somebody photoshopped the pictures. You know, it just works, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. How about men and women? What's the differences?
That's a very good question. So men have testosterone. Testosterone tells a man's body to make muscle, lose body fat the majority of the time. Women are full of estrogen. Estrogen tells their bodies, make fat. Okay? So that's why many times couples come to me and the husband's frustrated with the wife because he thinks she's not working hard enough. And meanwhile, usually the female has to work a lot harder to get the results that the man gets. Usually. But again, it all depends on genetics, you know. And then women end up having more as they age, endocrinology type problems, their thyroid, just their whole hormone makeup from having children. So that can play a part. But what I really have found over all these years is no matter what problem they've had, I put these principles to work with them, and they all make progress.
Yeah.
Every single one of them, whether it's a thyroid problem, whether it's a hormone problem, whether they go to all these doctors, we still get the transformation. We still do.
You say men have it easier. I think Tiffany kicked my butt. She lost way easier than me.
Well, while I was saying that, I was thinking that. But see, that's a unique case. Your genetics don't lend them. You're a hard loser, you know? And you worked really hard to get your transformation, really hard. So as guys go, you didn't have like the fat loss genetics on your side, but it was still possible.
Right.
You still did it. It just was a little harder, a lot more work, right?
Yeah, you just put in the work.
Right.
Now, see, I think it worked really well for me too because I was doing this with Tiffany. We didn't work out together.
Right.
Sometimes, but not necessarily. But anyone who's getting into this, especially with eating and habits, things like that, I mean, you can tell me what you think. I think it's way more beneficial if you're doing it together because you're on the same mission.
Yes, 100%. It's very hard. I've had clients who are obese. They live with an obese family, and they're trying to change their ways, and their family thinks they're crazy. Their family actually thinks like something's wrong with them eating clean. And it's very, very difficult for married couples, for even young people that still live at home and they want to change their ways because they don't want to end up like the rest of the family. It is much easier if you can, you know, have the support system at home. But, you know, if you don't, it's still possible. You just have to be really strong.
Yeah, you do because, like whenever you want to cheat, like everyone's going to cheat if they're on a diet. It's just natural. But
yeah.
But if you don't have the cookies on the counter, that helps a lot.
Exactly. It sure does. It sure does, yes. And, you know, I was saying before, I have some examples here, but we have protein chips now, see?
Right.
Protein chips, you know, the protein bars, cookies, candy. So there are substitutes. They're more expensive because they have protein in them, but they help so that you can have a chip if you want it, or instead of having a Snickers, have a protein bar. I know it's not the same, but there are some pretty delicious items out there that, you know, you can find. And of course, I know all the good ones, so I can help you. But there are substitutes so that you can stay on it as a lifestyle. And when you cheat, you cheat. We just fix the flat tire and get back in the car and keep driving, right?
Yeah, you know about that. I'd come in like, hey, what's you doing for Christmas? I'm like, well, I had a little bit.
I say some things. No.
Yeah. I had 4 cupcakes on a birthday. Like,
yeah,
every once in a while, you just break.
Yeah, you do. And that's okay. I have to make this doable and make a way for that to be okay.
Yeah.
Life.
And I think anyone trying this stuff too, you just have to keep trying. It's like, okay, you're screwed up. You keep trying. You just keep going, because if you do 28 days in a month good and 2 are bad, it's better than no days good.
Well, and I think it's good to know that so getting to your transformation destination is one thing. That's the really hard part. In other words, that's where for you it was a year, because that was your goal. Your goal was, I want a 6-pack. So that's, it's 6 months. Your results were phenomenal. Everybody was freaking out, but you wanted to take it all the way. So we took a year. So when you're being really strict for your goal, that's one thing. After that, do you have to live the rest of your life never having a chip again or never having a cupcake again? No, we just have to spend that initial 6 months or whatever we chart out of, as I said at the beginning, putting you to bed in a deficit. Burn more than you put in your mouth. Get rid of this, right? Once you get rid of it, now you learn how to maintain it. Now you can loosen up a little bit. You don't go all the way back. You don't say, okay, here I am. I can stop working out. I can stop doing cardio, and I can eat whatever I want. No, not that. You go all the way back to the beginning, which happens, and it's very sad. You keep all the things that you've learned in your life as a lifestyle, but if you want to go out and have pizza, increase your cardio the next day. You know the drill now. If it goes in here and you don't burn it, you're going to end up putting it back on. So at that point, it's already a lifestyle. You're addicted to the high of the cardio. You probably don't even feel good when you don't do cardio now, right?
Right.
So it's not like once you get your transformation, you can't eat and splurge. Sure you can. You just learn to manage it now,
Yeah, that's a good point too, because you're right. Like, I was going through cutting stage. We're cutting everything out, but now if I'm just trying to maintain, I have to keep the numbers. But yeah, if you want pizza one night, that's okay. You just do some extra cardio, because we're trying to stay even now versus losing.
Right. Or now that you went in and you won the battle and you're learning to maintain. I even mentioned this last week. I said, if you want to stay with your calories and eat bad all day, not that I suggest that, but if you're in life maintenance and you really want to pig out for a day, just try to keep it within your calorie range and at least have that check on you. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not the best, but it's, you're not going to be strict for the rest of your life, is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
That's why the maintenance phase is learning all about how to do that.
So let's talk about water, because I know you put a big importance on water. How does that command this equation?
Okay, water is everything. So I'm saying that because people joke me because I'm this water fanatic, but I know too much. I've been training people for 43 years, 6 days a week. People that don't drink enough water, first of all, they cramp up and they pull muscles and their joints hurt. So muscle is 70% water, right? You need water just for muscle alone. Then it is a physiological fact that if you drink more water, you're going to lose more body fat. Now, the reason this is that in the process of losing your body fat, the liver is the last piece of the whole pathway. The liver is the great detoxifier of our body, so it has a big job. So you could do everything I just talked about. You could do cardio. You could be on your body composition diet, eating your right numbers, weight training. If you don't drink water, your liver cannot do the job of metabolizing the body fat to get rid of it. And that's why just by drinking more water, you're going to lose more body fat. That's a fact. I'm going to keep going because this is my, this is my, what do you call it?
Your thing.
That's my thing. Okay, so the same signal for hunger is the same for thirst. So when somebody accidentally gets dehydrated, nobody does it on purpose, but if you drink too much caffeine, if you, like right now, we're living in the winter with the dry heat, we're like just in an oven baking from the inside out. People are so dehydrated in the winter. They get extremely hungry. Being dehydrated is an enemy of the diet. All they want to do is eat everything in sight because the same physiological feeling or urge that you have when you're thirsty is when you're hungry. So I always used to know, my daughter's grown now, but she was a gymnast, and I would always know when she was little, when she was dehydrated, she'd be like, Mom, can we go get chocolate? I need chocolate. I have to have chocolate. And that was, as soon as I'd hear that, I'd know it. That was just my mother thing with her. But there's one more thing about water, I have to say. When you don't drink enough, you get exhausted. You get lethargic. And just think of your plant. If you have plants and you don't water them and you know they just look like, okay, you think, oh, I got to throw that plant out. It's dead. Surprisingly, if you give that plant water, it springs back up. That's truly how we are. We don't always recognize it. We start getting lethargic, exhausted, craving carbs and sugar, wanting to lay down all the time. So what do most people do? Give me some more caffeine. Give me another iced tea. Give me another cup of coffee because it has caffeine in it. And that'll get me up. And guess what? Caffeine is a diuretic, so it throws more water out of you. So it's a vicious cycle. So everybody needs water.
Yeah, you're talking like you recommend a gallon a day, right?
For my clients, because I have them set up on cardio, diet, weight training. What I suggest for even people that just aren't going to do any of this is you really should get 96 ounces a day. And, if you're using one of these bottles, everybody seems to grab these. These are 16.9 ounces. If you just think of it as drink 2 of those in the morning, 2 of those in the afternoon, and 2 of those in the evening, you have your 96. That's a quart once, 3 times a day. And that, I had a woman who just signed up with me. You haven't met her, but she came in the other day, and I really gave her a water lecture because she wasn't drinking any. Okay. So she came in the other day and she said, she bought a 10-session package with me, which cost $500. She said, if I paid $500 just to learn about water, it was worth it, she said. I feel like a completely new person. She just said that to me the other day.
Yeah.
It's true. People don't realize how bad they feel until they feel good, right?
Right. And that's a good point you bring that up too, because everyone's got their thing. Like some people might not drink water, or me just understanding how the macros work. Like everyone has their own conception of what's working and what's not. Right. Talk with someone like you and you lay it out simply. It's like, oh, I didn't realize that part. Let me implement that, and that could be the game changer.
Yes. And I always, I have people that come in and hug me. You changed my life. All I did was get them to drink water, but they feel like a new person. They have their energy back, I think water is just too easy,
Yeah, it is. And it's cheap too.
Yeah, right. It's underestimated. And I blame advertising. We have a gazillion drinks out there. Everybody's just drinking everything but water most of the times. It's a shame, but.
So what would you tell someone that's toying around with, they're like, they know they need to do something. you know how everyone's got their headspace. It's like, oh, I'll get to that or whatever. Like,
Oh yeah.
what would you say?
Start with one thing. You know, let's get one thing in place. Whatever you take away from this today, get the water in place, right? That's big. That's huge. Maybe start doing some cardio. Add the next thing in. Okay, I have those two in place. Now I need to start weight training. And what about that diet? It can go any which way, but usually by the time people hire me, they've had it and they just need a big new start. But as you said, like, I'm still patient with them. I just start little. I teach them all this, but I don't expect them to wake up tomorrow and do everything, right? You know, it's like the professor on the first day of a college course. You know, I used to hate that because I'd be like, oh my gosh, they'd say all these things. You're going to read this many books. You're going to write this many papers and give 5 speeches. I'd be like, oh, I can never do that. So today I gave the overview. I'm like the professor on the first day of class, right? And people were like, I'm not doing that. But I don't expect you to wake up tomorrow and do all that. I'm going to walk you through it over the next weeks and months. And, you know, I ended up graduating, right? I finished those courses. It's always overwhelming hearing it up front. But I taught the overview today of, you know, the long-term goal. But it's just taking one day at a time and doing the best you can.
Yeah, and you know what? I was just talking with Tiff earlier too, because I was telling her you were coming on here, and I was asking her what kind of questions, and she said the one thing she noticed was in the beginning how fast you lost the first weight.
Oh yeah, right. That's just normal. You know, as soon as you start to implement the right things, the body is magnificent. It reacts like that. And people come in all the time, 1 week and 2 weeks in, and they go, am I imagining this? My pants are already loose. Could that be possible? Yeah, it is possible. You're doing everything right. And the thing to remember, though, your first results are the quickest. When you're doing everything right, wow, you know, that your body's going to respond. The first fat is going to come off the easiest. Not easy, but the easiest, because it's not been there forever. But then as we go through this journey, each next layer of fat that we try to get into gets a little harder. Been there a little longer. It's a little more stubborn. It's all possible to get it off. It is all possible. It's just we strategize each step of the way, you know.
That's what I noticed too, because I dropped, I don't know, 5 or 10 pounds quick in the first couple weeks, but then in like, you're sitting going level, and then you gradually start going down. But it's nice in the beginning because I don't know if it's water weight or whatever, but when you start cutting out,
everything. Yeah.
Yeah, but it gives you.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say you see results quick, at least to start, so it makes you okay. This is worth it.
See, that's what I was gonna say too. It's a beautiful thing because that's what people need to see or feel. Is like, wow, this is really working. I'm gonna keep doing this. But it is just the way the body was made. I mean, it's a well-oiled machine once you do the right things, you know?
Well, here you go. Let me ask you this. So you're in Pittsburgh.
Yes.
What can you do, and what can you do virtual for people? Like what part of this can you help people with that aren't in Pittsburgh versus being in Pittsburgh?
Okay. Well, I do train people online. I do it all, but I can do this online. The only thing that I can't do is obviously be with you in the gym, unless you take me virtually into the gym. But I have a lot of training programs that I can get people, you know, obviously I can send to them to do the weight training portion. And I equip them with the same things that I do here. It's just not hands-on. You know, it's a little more difficult, but I do it all the time. You know, I have online clients. It's just It's just not me not being right beside you. That's all. And then I need, if we're really going to do it right, I do need some form of measurements, like we explained in the beginning,
Right.
about either a scale from Bed Bath and Beyond, or, you know, a lot of these like really upscale established gyms and health clubs have very sophisticated equipment. Like there's the Bod Pod. Someone I'm training online just sent me a report. Her gym has the Bod Pod, which is an awesome machine. Tells me everything I need to know. Another one from another, I think it was from Crunch Fitness, sent me a body scan. It had everything I needed.
Okay.
And so a lot of these gyms have those types of things available.
Okay, cool. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Well, I guess they can email me at Stasi. It's STASI.Longo at AOL.com.
That's right. It's an email from the 70s.
Hey, it shows I've been doing this a long time, right?
Right. Now, what's your tell everyone your website?
Okay. My business name is Sunshine Fitness. It's spelled SONSHINE fitness.com, or they can even just Google StasiLongo.com. It'll take you to the same website.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and everyone, I'd recommend check that out because Stasi does a lot of different things. How many bodybuilders do you think you've trained?
I have trained over 1,000 for competition and the stage over my long career.
Okay, yeah.
It's my forte on the side, you know.
Yeah, so everyone check out the website because you'll see she helps normal people like me with what I want to do, but then also she helps people that are competing as well. And the same with females too, like with bikini competitions and posing and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Now, been at this a long time.
That's good. Hey, what do you think? We think we covered everything at the top level, or anything else you want to add?
Oh, I think we covered a lot. Yeah.
Good.
I think that was really, really good.
All right, good. Any hey, what's the number one mistake you see people making?
Oh, first of all, don't listen to everybody else. Once you know, what always blows my mind is when people start to decide to change their lifestyle. It's crazy. Other people try to discourage them. So don't listen. Just keep going.
That's a good one. I didn't even think of that. That's a really.
Oh, well, I hear it every day. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is what it is. But just don't listen. You just keep going towards your goal.
Yeah. Cool. All right, Stasi. Hey, thanks for coming on.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate it. Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening. Yeah, get out there, crush it, close some deals. We'll see you next time.